Nobody wanted the cracked mirror. The auctioneer tried twice. "Do I hear $50? Silence. The ornate antique mirror leaned against the wall, its gilded wooden frame chipped with age. A long crack ran diagonally across the cloudy glass, making it appear almost worthless. Most buyers walked past without slowing down. 23-year-old Olivia Bennett couldn't stop looking at it. Not because she needed a mirror, because something about it reminded her of her grandmother's house. She raised her bidder card. $20. The auctioneer looked relieved. "Sold." Several people quietly laughed. One antique dealer shook his head. "Kid just bought expensive firewood." Olivia smiled politely. If only they knew. $20 wasn't nothing. It was almost everything she had left. 3 weeks earlier, Olivia had been working as an architectural drafting assistant. The company specialized in restoring historic buildings. She loved the work. Old blueprints fascinated her. Forgotten craftsmanship inspired her. Then the firm's largest client canceled several major restoration contracts. Layoffs followed immediately. Olivia packed her desk before lunch. Finding another job proved almost impossible. Without steady income, her apartment disappeared soon afterward. Now everything she owned fit inside her aging station wagon. A few clothes, drawing supplies, her laptop, and an old leather notebook inherited from Grandma Margaret. That notebook stayed beside her every day. Grandma had spent 40 years restoring antique furniture. As a child, Olivia loved helping inside her workshop. Her grandmother repeated one lesson constantly: never buy an object. She would smile. Buy its story. Olivia never forgot. The estate auction took place inside a forgotten Victorian mansion scheduled for demolition. Most buyers chased expensive furniture, crystal chandeliers, paintings, silver collections. Nobody cared about one damaged mirror. While completing payment, the elderly auction clerk smiled. Funny thing. What? That mirror always bothered the family. Why? They claimed it felt unusually heavy. Olivia looked back. The mirror certainly appeared heavy. Its carved oak frame measured nearly 7 feet tall. Perhaps it simply used thicker wood. Still, something about the comment stayed with her. That evening, she carefully loaded the mirror into her station wagon. It barely fit. With nowhere else to stay, she drove to a quiet campground outside town. The mirror rested against a nearby picnic table while she prepared dinner over a small camping stove. The fading sunlight illuminated intricate carvings along the frame. Vines, birds, compass roses. She paused. Compass roses? That detail seemed strangely familiar. Olivia opened Grandma Margaret's leather notebook. Inside were dozens of sketches documenting antique furniture restorations. One page showed almost the exact same carving. Beside it, Grandma had written, "Whitmore Workshop Signature." Olivia frowned. Whitmore? She searched further. Several pages later, she found another note. "Always inspect the mirrors personally." No explanation. Only that sentence. Curiosity replaced exhaustion. The following morning, she borrowed workspace inside a community makerspace where volunteers restored donated furniture. She carefully removed decades of dirt from the frame. Hidden beneath layers of old varnish appeared beautiful hand carving. Every detail reflected extraordinary craftsmanship. Then she noticed something unusual. The frame measured significantly thicker along the left side, almost 2 inches deeper than the right. That made no sense. She measured again. Definitely different. Using a flashlight, she examined the rear panel. One section showed tiny hand-cut wooden pegs instead of nails. Someone wanted that part removable. Very carefully, Olivia loosened the pegs. The rear panel slowly lifted away. Behind it was an empty space. A narrow concealed compartment stretched nearly the entire height of the mirror. Inside rested several leather document tubes, a velvet pouch, and one sealed envelope. Her heartbeat quickened. The envelope carried faded handwriting. For the restorer. She carefully opened it. "If you found this compartment, then you respected the craftsmanship enough to look beyond appearances." Olivia smiled. Grandma would have loved that sentence. The letter continued. "The compartment protects history, not treasure." Curious, Olivia unrolled the first leather tube. Inside rested incredibly detailed architectural drawings. Not ordinary blueprints. Masterpiece designs. Historic buildings. Hidden structural techniques. Handwritten engineering notes. Each page carried the Whitmore Workshop seal. The next tube contained restoration journals documenting forgotten construction methods dating back over a century. Then she opened the velvet pouch. Inside rested a small antique brass key. Attached to it hung a silver tag engraved with 2 words. Archive room. Archive room. Olivia searched every remaining document. One phrase appeared repeatedly throughout the journals. The second reflection. Always capitalized. Never explained. The final page of one journal contained only a single handwritten instruction. The mirror opens only the first door. Olivia slowly looked back at the cracked antique mirror. Because suddenly the forgotten auction purchase everyone dismissed wasn't simply damaged furniture anymore. It was the first clue in a mystery someone had carefully hidden for generations. And somewhere beyond the mysterious archive room, the true secret behind the Whitmore workshop was still waiting for the one person curious enough to keep looking. Olivia turned the small brass key over in her hand. The silver tag still read, Archive room. She looked back at the cracked mirror. The mirror opens only the first door. Grandma Margaret would have smiled. She loved puzzles hidden inside craftsmanship. Olivia carefully examined every blueprint from the secret compartment. One drawing immediately caught her attention. It wasn't a building. It was a floor plan of the Victorian mansion where she had purchased the mirror. Most of the rooms matched the building she remembered, except one. Behind the old library appeared a narrow chamber labeled Archive room. No public doorway connected to it. The room officially didn't exist. The following morning, Olivia returned to the mansion. Demolition crews weren't scheduled until the following week. The caretaker recognized her immediately. Back for another bargain? She smiled. I think I forgot something. He laughed. Good luck finding it. Inside, the mansion stood completely silent. Dust floated through broken stained glass windows. She carried the mirror blueprint, the brass key, and Grandma's notebook. The old library looked exactly as she remembered. Towering bookcases, stone fireplace, dark walnut walls. Following the blueprint, Olivia measured carefully. One section of shelving should have been nearly 3 feet deeper. Instead, it looked perfectly ordinary. She ran her fingers across every carved panel. Nothing. Then she noticed one familiar detail. A tiny compass rose carved into the wood. Exactly like the one on the mirror. She inserted the brass key into its center. Click. Hidden gears quietly engaged. An entire bookshelf slowly swung inward. Cool air drifted from the darkness beyond. The archive room. Olivia stepped inside. Her flashlight revealed something extraordinary. Climate-controlled cabinets lined every wall. Architectural models rested beneath glass. Thousands of hand-drawn blueprints filled oak drawers. Leather journals stretched across towering shelves. Everything remained perfectly preserved. At the center stood a magnificent drafting table. One envelope rested alone beneath a brass reading lamp. Across the front appeared 5 handwritten words. For the curious restorer. She smiled. Someone clearly understood her. The letter began, If you're reading this, you valued craftsmanship more than appearance. That is why you're here. The signature read, Edmund Whitmore, founder of Whitmore Restoration Studios. Olivia opened nearby cabinets. Inside rested original restoration plans for historic courthouses, churches, libraries, museums, entire neighborhoods. Many buildings still stood today. Detailed engineering methods accompanied every drawing. Traditional stonework, hidden structural reinforcement, wood preservation techniques, methods long forgotten by modern builders. Then she discovered another cabinet. Instead of blueprints, it contained patents, architectural innovations, restoration technologies, engineering tools. Many remained active. Licensing agreements continued generating royalties from restoration companies across the country. The Whitmore family hadn't simply restored buildings. They invented better ways to preserve them. Olivia continued exploring. Another room contained correspondence with hundreds of former apprentices. Architects, stonemasons, carpenters, furniture restorers, glass artists. Over decades, Edmund quietly helped talented craftspeople establish businesses. Rather than charging tuition, he accepted tiny ownership interests in their companies. Most succeeded. Those modest investments quietly grew generation after generation. At the center of the room sat an antique projector. Beside it rested a film reel labeled Final Reflection. She carefully started the machine. The projector hummed softly. Edmund Whitmore appeared. An elderly gentleman with silver hair and kind eyes stood inside the very archive surrounding her. "Welcome." His voice echoed warmly through the room. "If you've reached this place, then you solved every question correctly." He smiled. The cracked mirror wasn't damaged. It was disguised. So was this archive. He slowly walked past shelves filled with blueprints. "I spent my life watching people chase expensive things. They ignored beautiful things that needed care." He gently touched one of the restoration drawings. "Buildings survive because someone refuses to abandon them. So do people." Olivia felt tears forming. The words reminded her of Grandma. Edmund continued, "If these records create wealth for you, wonderful. But promise me one thing. Protect knowledge. Teach craftsmanship. Restore more than buildings. Restore hope." The projector slowly faded to black. Olivia remained standing in silence. For the first time since losing her apartment, she wasn't thinking about survival. She was thinking about purpose. Over the following months, attorneys and historians verified every document. The patents remained legally valid. The licensing agreements continued producing significant royalty income. Several ownership interests in restoration firms had grown into valuable investments. Combined, the archive was worth millions. But Olivia never sold it. Instead, she purchased the old Victorian mansion before demolition could begin. Architects initially called the project impossible. She proved them wrong. The mansion became the Whitmore Institute for Historic Restoration. Students learned traditional woodworking, stone carving, decorative plaster, leaded glass restoration, historic architecture. Master craftsmen volunteered as instructors. Retired artisans finally had somewhere to pass their knowledge to a new generation. The cracked mirror returned to the mansion's entrance hall, exactly where visitors first arrived. A small brass plaque beneath it simply read, "Look beyond appearances." 10 years passed. The once-forgotten mansion became one of the country's most respected restoration schools. Historic buildings across the nation were saved by graduates trained inside its workshops. One autumn afternoon, a documentary crew toured the institute. The interviewer stopped beside the famous cracked mirror. "So, this is the mirror that made you a millionaire?" Olivia smiled. "In a way. What was hidden behind it? Most people expected diamonds, gold coins, cash. Instead, Olivia answered honestly, a doorway." The interviewer looked confused. "To what?" She led him into the restored archive room. Young architects studied century-old blueprints. Carpenters practiced forgotten joinery techniques. Apprentices restored antique furniture under experienced mentors. The room buzzed with quiet purpose. Olivia smiled. "To this." The interviewer slowly looked around. So the real treasure wasn't behind the mirror. No. She gently touched Grandma Margaret's leather notebook resting beside Edmund Whitmore's original drafting tools. The mirror only helped someone curious enough to keep asking questions. Outside, visitors admired the beautiful antique mirror without realizing what it once concealed. Most simply saw cracked glass. Exactly as Edmund intended. Because behind that forgotten mirror wasn't merely a hidden cache worth millions. It was something infinitely more valuable. Generations of craftsmanship, practical wisdom, and the belief that the greatest restorations aren't measured by the buildings we save, but by the lives we rebuild while saving them.